everybody. I'm Professor Lucas Clawiter. I'm happy to allow have these guys be able to present their semester project for you from our strength and conditioning coaching class. Hopefully they're not as big of goofballs for you up here as they are for me in my classroom. But yeah, I'll let them take it away.
Thanks, Lucas. My name is Degenstein.
I'm Taylor Wiggins.
So we're happy to share with you an insight on the strength and conditioning program, specifically for Division I collegiate defensive tackle for football.
So this is going to be our introduction. So this is going to be the outline of everything we're going to talk to you guys about in the next 15, maybe 20 minutes. Hopefully 20. Hopefully we make 20. But so the first thing we're going to talk about is a purpose statement. And then we're going to talk about student-athlete, physiological principles for a defensive tackle specifically. And then testing, periodization. And then finally we're going to talk about our conclusion and conclude everything up so everyone understands completely.
So our purpose statement, why we decided to write this program. So the purpose of developing a strength and conditioning program is to maximize an athlete's potential using sport-specific, safe, organized physical training using a periodic method.
So first off, we're going to start to talk about student-athlete because this is the most important part. There's too many. So basically, student always becomes first before athlete, and that's very important, and we want everyone to know that. And so it first goes, we're going to break it down into little subsections. So first, it's academics. So academics are very, very important in student-athletes. In academics, that could be tests, that could be anything. It could just be added stressors, and that's what I'm going to move into next. So stressors could be bills, tests, anything. And stressors can cause recovery to delay. It could cause recovery not to be as good as before due to the mental game and everything. And then social life, so as you can see here, maybe just hanging out with your friends and everything and kind of going out on like weekends or something, that could also affect recovery. And then finally, this is what we're going to emphasize today, is sports. Sports with a student athlete and everything.
So physiological principles, mainly for a defensive tackle, these three which we are going to cover are what come up in football. So our ATP and PCR system, our energy system, we're going to kind of make this a little interactive. If you want to, please go ahead and stand up. Stretch your legs a little bit. Only if you want to, you don't have to. And go ahead and sit back down, please.
That's stretching.
So what you just used was your ATP and PCR energy system. These ATP and phosphocreatine substrates are already in your muscles, readily available for you to use. These can last up to 12 seconds of usage before they get depleted, and your body, through just normal process, re-energizes and restores this. So now you have anaerobic glycolysis. Anaerobic means without oxygen. So when you're exercising or doing a sprint or maybe a shuttle run from 12 to 2 minutes on, you're using glycogen that's already stored in your muscles. That is the simplest form of carbohydrates that we get from our daily diet that our body takes into account, puts back into our muscles throughout the day. So if we're doing anaerobic glycolysis with the shuttle run, you are breathing when you are running because it's about a minute and a half test, but your muscles will not need oxygen to oxidate them to contract. And then also with acute anaerobic adaptations, this is just what your body is becoming more efficient with. Your heart is getting better, having a better cardiac output, using the max amount of blood it can push out in one beat to help flow to your muscles, to the rest of your bodies, to your organs, and help you be a more efficient athlete.
So purpose of testing, so we're going to break it down into 3 sections. So this is the pre-test, so this determines a baseline for our athlete. So it determines what we want the athlete to do, and this is where the athlete sets his ultimate goal to try to accomplish during the post-test. So pre-testing, determine a baseline. And then we do a in-testing, so this means mid-season testing. So this will help us look at if our program is actually working for the specific athlete. And it'll let us know if we need any adaptations to help the athlete in the future.
This can happen also during off-season workouts or competition phases.
So then post-testing, this determines the achievement of training objectives. And this also will tell us if the athlete reached his ultimate goal that he set during pre-testing.
So kind of our pre-testing schedule. These drills or tests are used in football a lot, especially with pro combine or collegiate combine. Basically skills that are sport specific to the individual. To kind of relate back to our energy system, if we used a 40-yard dash as an example, a 40-yard dash is a straight line measuring speed and amount of time. What we're using there is we're using our ATP and PCR system, and that's what is going to power our body to go as fast as possible. And these are all set up to benefit the athlete so they can peak their performance in each of those tests.
So then these are the pre-testing results. And as you can see, this guy's 295 pounds, 6'3". His name's Warren White. We want to mix it up. And so PR, or best right here. So best back squat 775. And then as you get lower, you'll notice that he ran a 4.5240 at 295 pounds, which is incredible for a 295 pound person. But I mean, these are kind of exaggerated. We wanted to. So then like 6.48 for 3-cone drill, just some examples of what we would do for pre-testing and post-testing.
And at the end of this, we fill out the same chart, and you know, if he PRs, which is personal record, we'd also put PR where it says best or best time. But this is just another simple chart to fill out results and make sure that we can show what we're measuring.
So periodization, so this is going to be a 46-week, so this is our plan, 46-week defensive tackle training program. It's broken down into 3 cycles, and these are called periodization. Each of these are periodization. So microcycle, mesocycle, and macrocycle. So the thing about periodization they are building blocks for the athlete to accomplish the peak performance during the season. So, and now we'll show you each of these individuals, microcycle, mesocycle, and macrocycle, and talk more about it. So microcycle is about typically 1 week long, but can last up to 4 weeks. And microcycle it's a building block into mesocycle, and then mesocycle is a building block into macrocycle. So everything fits in together.
And if we have an example to pull up over here. So if you want to think about a small block of a microcycle, then this is what you got. You just got 1 day out of the week. This is for our endurance hypertrophy phase, which we'll show in the next couple slides. But this is just telling the athlete these are the exercises that you are doing, using you know, either our power lift that's in here, or if we're going down here for more auxiliary lifts, something that can help steady off into a cool down and whatnot. The A1s and A2s, that means a superset. So if you just get one letter and just says A, and then the next is like B1, B2. A means you're doing the full set of 5x6. But if you're doing A1, A2, it means you're doing one set of 6 here, then you're going one set of 6 here, and then you're going back and forth until you reach your 5 sets. Just another example as far as what the lift would look like. So dumbbell incline, bench press right down here. This is what basically would be another lift, just to give you a better visual of what it looks like.
So this is going to be mesocycle. So this is what the microcycle goes into basically. So this is going to last several weeks to several months. But then it also could be 2 or more cycles within a macrocycle. So macrocycle is the one step above that. So then this is an example.
Given a better representation, so all this whole week is 1 microcycle. Now, this is the endurance and hypertrophy phase, which lasts 2 weeks. So, you know, 2 microcycles makes into your mesocycle, and fits one into the other along with it. And after this week, we'd also have a deload week. And a deload week is essentially giving the athlete a time to kind of recuperate from what the stressors that we just put on him, adapt to them, while also still benefiting him and transitioning to the next phase.
So then finally, we're going to talk about the macrocycle. This cycle lasts an entire training year, but can be up to 4 years, depending on what the athlete is or what the athlete does.
And with our cycles, so if you're an Olympic athlete, your competition, your peak phase that you want to perform the best at is every 4 years. So your macro cycle is going to extend that full 4 years. You're going to want to increase and kind of adapt to it, then back increase, and you want to steadily increase until you reach your peak performance and be successful at it, because that's one of the biggest stages on earth. If you're a collegiate or professional athlete, collegiate being maybe 8 months is kind of your full macro cycle. You're doing your off season into your summer workouts, summer down into you post-test, then you get ready for your competition phase, and towards probably the end from till May till about December, then your season is done. So basically, these are the training phases of what our program consists of. So we have our endurance and hypertrophy phase, then goes into our basic strength phase, which then goes into power, which then goes into our competitive phase. Each phases are basically multiple mesocycles, and then all these phases together are a macro.
So then now we're going to talk about the different phases that we just talked about. So this is the endurance hypertrophy phase. We're going to break it down into 4 components for you guys to understand. So volume, so for endurance hypertrophy, we want high volume. So this means 3 to 6 sets of 8 to 20 repetitions. And then for intensity, it's 50 to 75% of your 1 rep max. And the 1 rep max is based on the pre-testing max that we determined. And then the duration of this specific phase is for 2 weeks. And then for recovery, because recovery is very important, you got a deload week after 2 weeks.
If you want to think about it in a certain way, this is kind of a preparatory phase. We're shocking the body. It's like a shock and awe phase. We're shocking the body so they get ready for the next couple phases, strength and power. We're doing repetitions on muscle contractions so that we can increase the cross-section of the muscle, increase size, and allow it for better adaptations to our basic strength and power phase.
So then now we're going to look at the basic strength phase, the second phase that we're going to look at. And then right here we're going to break it down again into volume, intensity, duration, recovery. So then the first one we got is volume. So this is moderate to low. Low volume, so this is 2 to 6 sets of 2 to 6 repetitions. And then intensity, 80 to 95% of 1 rep max. And the variance, by the way, the variance between the percentages for each one, because the last one I believe was 20% or something, the variance depends on the exercise, the specific exercise the athlete does. But then the duration for this one is 4 to 8 weeks. The recovery for this, so we're going to have a deload week after every 3 weeks of this basic strength phase.
Going into duration just depends on the sport. Just depends on how much time you have. You want to space it out so that way you can get great adaptations. There's no staleness. There's no fatigue or overtraining that you have the athlete. Our strength phase is where we strength. I guess the definition is for amount of force you can move at one point in time. You're trying to get as much weight as you can and lift it off the ground or squat it or bench it off your chest. That is the purpose of strength phase, to get the most muscle contractions possible with each fibers.
So now we're going to look at the power phase. So the volume is going to be low. It's going to be, so an example is 2 to 5 sets of 2 to 5 reps. And the variance in this one is pretty different. It's 30 to 80% of 1 rep max. And again, that just bases off what exercise the specific athlete is doing. And then the duration for this one is 4 to 8 weeks. Recovery, so we're going to have a deload week every 3 weeks. And post-testing, so that's going to be a little deload week almost, because he's just going to be doing testing and everything.
Right. With this, it's kind of our last phase before we get into our competitive phase. Power is moving the weight as fast as possible. So if you want to think about it as using your full body to move a set amount of percentage of weight at one point in time, you're going as fast as possible, as powerful as possible. With our deload, this would be our end, so this would be our post-test. We'd find out what results that we got from our pre-test, compare them, see how much he gained, see how he felt the program went, and then we can adapt sort of more to his tailoring or uniqueness into our competitive phase.
So then now we're going to look at the competition phase. We're going to break it down into three sections. So tapering, peaking, maintenance, and recovery. And then in the next 3 slides, we're going to go over it a little bit more into depth.
So tapering, tapering and peaking. What you're doing in tapering is you're kind of maintaining your body. You're getting ready to compete at your top performance. You're making sure your body's healthy enough. You're moving fast enough. You're feeling good. So that way you can perform at your best. We're decreasing our volume and frequency by quite a bit. Normal training volume, we decrease it 30 to 85% as well. What you're doing there is you're still making them have those lifts that they're doing. You're still contracting those muscles. You're still gaining something instead of losing something. We don't want the body to atrophy while we're in competition phase, because then you're just getting weaker and performance will go down. We want to keep the athletes rested and sharp for competition, and that is the main goal of tapering. So that way we can have peak performance at the end of the week or during their game sessions.
So now we're going to talk about maintenance during the season, and like Leo said, the worst thing to do is have muscle atrophy during the season and everything, where athletes don't want to participate in lifting at all and just think they already reached that peak performance. Well, after they reach peak performance, it can be a decline if they don't keep it up. And that's what maintenance is. So I mean for volume, so it's going to be very low, 1 to 3 sets of 1 to 3 repetitions. And then intensity, again, it's a very, very high variance, 50 to 93% of 1 rep max. And then duration, so this is going to be 12 to 16 weeks or however long the season is. Except if they make a bowl game or anything, it's going to definitely be a lot longer. And then, so recovery, so deload week after every 3 weeks.
Maintaining, biggest part. A lot of it is, it's kind of like the fundamentals of lifting. Making sure that you're still keeping your body in shape, you're keeping healthy. Nutrition plays a factor, but also allowing your body to go through the motions, still lubricate your joints, and still get in tune with how you're going to compete. Duration, like Taylor said, it's going to just depend on sports. Depending how long your season is, depending on the competition phase, will determine how long we are in this maintenance phase. So talk about recovery. This is kind of towards after season or maybe even during a bye week. What we want our athletes to have is active recovery. So you're not putting the stress like the sport demands you to. All right, you're not taking the mental aspect of it. You're not bearing the burden on your shoulders, physically and literally. You're taking your active rest. So what we like, go ahead and get out and play some golf. Do something fun. Do a hobby you like. Don't be sedentary. You're still wanting to maintain a muscle, joint, tendon recovery. We want to keep that so that we don't get stiff, we don't lose what we've already gained, but also we want to just take a break from it.
So then, as you can see here, we wanted to add a picture of food because, I mean, we didn't even talk about food at all. And food, someone could ruin their recovery and ruin what they built in mass and everything just by not eating right. So right here we got chicken salad almost. So that is a crucial thing, is protein.
Making sure that you're in regular mental health and also get that social aspect. Communicate with your family and friends. So finally, our conclusion. So what we want to stem from is our periodization. This, like Taylor said in the beginning, it's the building blocks to having our athletes be in peak performance. We want them to be successful, and they want to be successful. The adaptations for the program, we want to tailor that program to them. That's why we specifically put a defensive tackle in quotations or in parentheses, because that's what we tailored our program to. Everybody's different. Every position group is different. They get demanded different skills, different attributes in their sport, and also our performance. Everybody wants to perform well. If we can put our athlete in the best shape, best situation possible, then we've done our job. And I think with periodization in the whole program, we can do that. And finally, our recovery. You got to live your life. You're a person. You're not just a robot that can do sports. You have other interests in life, and we want to keep that moving as well. And with our program, we just wanted to make sure that we had champions out in the field, whether it's in the classroom, on the field, both, or in life. That's where our main goal. And I think even with just this program, we can accomplish that. And our references, and thank you.
Thank you.